Welcome to Bathrooms and Bunkers, a podcast dedicated to sharing stories of excellence from amazing people around the world. We're at the Verve Church today in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Trey Griggs, Vice President of Lean Sales, a division of Lean Solutions Group, and I'm excited to be joined by two men who had incredible careers in the NFL, Marques Ogden and Vernon. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you on today.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having us, Trey. Really appreciate it.
Man, it's a privilege. Thanks for having us.
So Marques, I want to start with you real quick. I want to get a little bit of your backstory. Just tell us a little bit about how you got to the NFL. What was that journey like for you?
So I'm from Washington, D.C., went to St. John's College High School, where Kevin Plakel's Under Armour went to high school. I got one scholarship offer at Howard University in Washington, D.C. My father's a Howard grad, played football as well. Went there, had a great career, was unexpectedly drafted in the 6th round by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Head coach was Jack Del Rio, and my director of pro personnel was James Shaq Harris, one of the first African Americans to ever be in the NFL as a quarterback. He went to Grambling under Eddie Robinson. Played in the NFL, had a great career, a little over 5 years, almost 6 years. Got out of the NFL, struggled with transition. I got into big business in Baltimore City, became the largest African American subcontractor in site work. We were an 8-figure-year business, but unfortunately I made some mistakes and lost it all in 2013 when I made a really bad mistake trusting a client that I shouldn't have, filed a bankruptcy, and moved from Baltimore down to Raleigh.
Nice. And so I want to go back to one thing you said. You said you were an unexpected draft pick. What was that like? Was it because most people I think expect to get drafted and don't, and that's kind of the usual thing that happens. What was that like to be drafted and you weren't really expecting it?
Well, I went to Howard University. I was going on a scholarship to play football, which was amazing. But I'm like, well, if I get a year starting there at 2, I'd be awesome. Because again, I wasn't highly recruited out of high school. So when I was a starter as a freshman, it was awesome. But then as I played my freshman year, my sophomore year, and after my junior year, people say you're in draft books, you're potentially getting looked at. So I went to my brother who was in his career in the 7th year with the Ravens, was an all-pro left tackle, asked him his opinion, and I worked hard and said, I'm going to go ahead and give it all I got. And I did that, and he said, Marques, if you get drafted, great. If you don't, you didn't go to Howard to play football in the NFL. I mean, you really didn't. You went there to get an education. So basically with that mentality, I just say I'm going to give it my all, I'm going to work my hardest, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And I remember getting drafted, getting that call from Jack, and I was like, wow, this actually did happen.
So you say your dad played football at Brown, your brother Jonathan Ogden played 9 years in the league as well. Football really runs in your family. What was that like growing up, with football being a focal point for your family?
Well, my dad played football at Howard like I did. So, we were both went to Howard University, and it was amazing. My dad's a Howard grad, so am I. My brother was a perennial starter at UCLA, and then was a first-round draft pick, number 4 overall. So having football in the house was great, but it wasn't pushed on us. Like if you want to play, you play. If you don't want to play, then you don't play. And so that's kind of how our father brought it up in our household, and it worked out because we both fell in love with it right around middle school. And then, of course, in high school, we were able to go play and do our thing, and it worked out really well.
Yeah, and that's really incredible, a true tribute to your dad who didn't force it on you, but just let you fall in love with the game. I once heard Michael Jordan give advice to parents about how do I get my kid into basketball, and he said just let him love it, let him enjoy it, and it sounds like that really worked out for you guys.
It was awesome, it really was.
Now tell us a little bit about your business adventure. You said you came out, you got into big business, you made a few mistakes. What did you learn from that experience that's really helped you today?
What I've learned is that in business, every deal stands alone. And also I've learned, and I do a lot of work with big companies, culture is everything. And when you have great employees, great people around you, and you don't listen to them and don't take their advice, it could cause a real ripple effect in the business. So when I realized that, because I lost the company, because my best employee tried to tell me we were making a mistake, I didn't listen. He resigned that following Monday. 6 months later, like he predicted, we were bankrupt. I lost my home, cars, everything. I had to start all over again. And so today I've learned when my trusted team speaks, allow them to speak and be heard, not just speak and me not really pay attention. So that's helped me. Like a lot of things, same thing with corporations. Like a lot of companies are big businesses, and they sometimes still have that problem where the staff feels underappreciated, not valued, like their opinions don't matter. And when you're able to work through that, it becomes a better culture, and a better culture equals more revenue and also more profit.
Yeah, I once heard Steve Jobs say that we don't hire people to tell them what to do. We hire good people so they can tell us what to do.
Well, Steve Jobs had a great saying also. He said the hardest job he ever had at Apple was creating a healthy, inclusive environment. He said, because when you have all these great minds in the same room, sometimes people feel like they don't want to say as much, or if they say something, they might get looked at or get judged. So he said his hardest job at Apple was making sure that people could speak freely without feeling they were going to be judged.
Yeah, that's incredible. Vernon, I want to transition to you real quick. You had a different path to the NFL. You actually grew up right here in Las Vegas and had a great college career, and then you expected to be drafted. Tell us a little bit about your journey to the NFL growing up here in Vegas.
Yeah, like you said, man, grew up here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Had a chance to go and play Division I football, which was really my early and only dream. Never thought about the opportunity to play in the NFL. I knew the statistics and kind of bought into that whole thing, and went to Fresno State University on a full athletic scholarship, and went there with the idea of just getting my degree. You know, academics were very important to me, and once I got there, not only was I able to succeed on the field, but off of the field as well. Was named amongst 16 individuals who were eligible for the academic Heisman my senior year, academic All-American, and man, just a great experience there. And on the field, you know, something that I never really expected, you know, the opportunity to potentially play in the NFL. I was being told I'd be drafted as high as a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, and, you know, got excited about that, but sat at home for 2 days and never saw my name scroll across that screen, didn't get the phone call. And, you know, really that dream really felt like it was gone. Got a phone call from the San Diego Chargers with a handshake and an opportunity. Went in as a 6th-string strong safety. So those of us that have been around football know like that's pretty much like a death sentence. And got there and just worked as hard as I could. You know, did what I could control, and the things that I couldn't, man, I just, you know, gave it up to my faith and worked hard, and man, I couldn't believe it. I went from being one of the 90 guys that were a part of that roster to the final 53.
Now, a lot of people deal with disappointment in life, and obviously that must have been a very disappointing moment to not see your name scroll across, not get that phone call on draft night and the excitement and energy. What was the mindset to say, okay, that didn't happen, okay, here's an opportunity? You know, how did you adjust and shift and really take advantage of that?
You know, I think for me personally, it was one of those moments that I needed to have happen. Sounds odd, but it was probably the best, worst thing that could have ever happened to me. I was a real prideful individual at that time. You know, I really looked at myself as a high achiever. I had been named an MVP on almost every team I'd ever played for, and so for the first time for someone to tell me, like, you're not good enough, that's exactly what it was. And I really had to look within and say, well, how bad do you really want this? Because it's not going to happen like everything else has kind of happened up until this point. And so I just went there with a shift in my mindset. You know, like I said, just doing everything that I could do within my control. And it worked out for me in the end.
Yeah, now, I read that recently that, you know, an undrafted free agent that makes a 53-man roster, the average tenure for them in the NFL is roughly like 3.5 years. You made it 8 years as an undrafted free agent. What was that like every year, just feeling like you had to prove yourself and you know, staying focused?
Yeah, it blows my mind even now to think about it, you know, because it's hard enough to survive in that league, guys that get drafted. And, you know, for someone that did not get drafted, you know, to play 8 seasons is just phenomenal, and I count myself to truly be blessed for that opportunity. But yeah, it was rough. You know, you're talking every year I'm getting 1-year contracts and having to go in and make the team. I mean, there were some years I'd end as the starter, and then they draft a guy, you know, in front of me, and I'd have to come back in and fight every 2 years. You know, I never could get over that 2-year hump. So every 2 years I was going to another team. So I was kind of the quintessential journeyman in the NFL, but you know, that's kind of how the business works, and if you want it, you got to kind of grind through that.
Yeah, but clearly you were good enough to have other teams looking at you and wanting you on their team, which was great. So I want to shift real quick to a segment we call the Difference Makers. And I want you to start this one, Vernon, and talk about, you know, who are the people that really helped you, you know, get to the next level, become a professional, become a better player, whatever it might be. Who are those people that really stand out that made a difference in your life?
For me, man, when I was young, you know, everyone would say all of these people were their heroes, you know, whether it was Michael Jordan or Barry Sanders or Deion Sanders. You know, for me, my father was always my hero. And it was just because he was the greatest example of what I looked at as, you know, what a man should be. You know, he was a great father, a great husband, just a provider, you know, tremendous supporter. And that was what I wanted to model my life after. And for me, he was really a big, huge difference maker in my life, and just impactful and influential in just my decision making and the type of person I wanted to be. The other, I'd say, was, believe it or not, my high school coach. And I've played for some great coaches. You know, I played for Marty Schottenheimer, Joe Gibbs, Mike Shanahan, a ton of coaches that, are historical. But my high school coach was someone that really pushed me to the limits, helped me kind of pull out of myself what I didn't know was there, would challenge me in ways that, now his method of doing it wasn't always the best, but he would challenge me in ways that I really got to tap into a side of myself that I didn't really know was there. So to this day, Greg Spencer, and he's passed away since then, has really been special to me in the development of who I am now.
Yeah, a lot of those coaches back in the 90s had that kind of Bobby Knight flair.
Oh, yeah.
I played for one of those as well, where on the outside it looked like he was, just a mean guy, but you just knew how much he cared about you, and he drew that out of you, so that's awesome. How much does your dad's impact on your life now impact you as a parent and what you're trying to model for your kids?
100%. He was the standard. And to this day, I don't even know if I can measure up to what he was and what he's been to this day as a father. And again, even as a husband, I really model who I want to be, and the integrity, the character by which he's always represented is really what I strive to be every day.
That's awesome. Marques, how about you? Who are the real difference makers in your life? Obviously, being in a football family, but I'm sure there were other people as well that have really had a huge impact on your life.
For me, it would be my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, because when my parents divorced, we spent a lot of time with them. They were probably 15-minute drive away from us in D.C., so I spent a lot of time over there. He was a boxing trainer. He was in the D.C. Boxing Hall of Fame. He would drive, about 40 minutes from northwest D.C. to southeast D.C. to train, guys in a very underprivileged, very dilapidated neighborhoods, to help get them off the street, to help stop the crime infestation. And, he saved countless lives, thousands of young men who were in that D.C. Southeast area that were really just all excited about crime and drugs because they wanted to be somebody famous, or what they thought was going to be what we call neighborhood famous. And my grandpa said, look, if you want to come actually get out of here, you're going to box. But if you want to box in my gym, in my ring, you have to have good grades. So he used that as a catalyst for them. And a lot of those guys are now moved on. They've got into better jobs, and they've gotten into being fathers and husbands and family men. And so my grandpa was an amazing example to me. My dad was awesome as well. But to think about the lives that my grandfather saved with his boxing training, with his methodology, with the way in which he approached people, and he just didn't care if you were the CEO, the janitor, you were a high net worth individual, if you had $1 in your pocket. He was the same person all the way around.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like both of you had just father-type figures, coaches in your life that did that. We had the chance to go and did a little workout the other day at Phase One Sports right here in Las Vegas, and you guys were teaching me some skills and some drills. How transferable were some of those things that you guys learned from coaches that now you use as business professionals? I'll start with you.
Well, for me, as a speaker, consultant, coach, what I try to do is a lot of things I learned in sports, football, boxing, basketball, bringing that mindset, that work ethic, that ability just to be sure that you finish something that you start. And a lot of businesses, I feel, especially with 2020 last year, with COVID, the pandemic, a lot of businesses were struggling to finish what they start, which was they were having good years, they were successful, and they didn't know how to pivot and adjust to getting themselves where they wanted to be. And I try to tell everybody, with my big clients, if you're going to start something, you have to finish it strong all the way. And it's been very, very big in my life, very influential with our client base. But sports taught me a lot about the leadership aspect, the culture aspect, and really the teamwork aspect. We were doing that, the event with you all where we did the off-road racing. And, having to communicate with people so you don't get lost, being able to make sure you're able to follow people in front of you, don't lose the man behind you. If you're we had a situation I told you about, we had to get out and help that person get back onto standing in their car. All those things were really exciting because I actually posted about it on LinkedIn that's what the event I saw. Now, of course, it was fun. You were racing and all that great stuff, 22 miles, but for me, it was more than that. It was teamwork. It was communication. It was following the leader. It was making sure people behind you didn't get left behind so they didn't get lost. So these are the type of skill sets that go into big business very well, but you have to actually pay attention and pick up what's going on around you to see and observe that to help you become a better business person.
Yeah, and not only that, but I also know, I mean, it's been about, 10 years since you've been in the league, 12 years?
Let's see, 08, yeah, about 12 years, yeah.
And yet we were doing some drills, and obviously your skills are still there. You still have, I mean, that's been ingrained in terms of how to posture yourself as an lineman and using your hands and all that, which was pretty hilarious because I was trying to go up against you and getting thrown against the wall.
Well, it's just like anything else. Like if you do it enough times, it becomes muscle memory. And I tell people in business, it's the same thing. Like if you make mistakes, start being accountable right away. I messed up. I could do this better. I didn't do that right. You need to train yourself. I call it the inside to outside theory. Look at yourself first and others second. And I feel in business, if more companies had that inside to outside culture, you would have a lot more successful brands. But unfortunately, because people are afraid of losing their job, being reprimanded, how I don't want to make sure I don't want to get in trouble, they'll do the shift blame or they'll pass the buck and they'll do all these different things. And unfortunately, what happens is it becomes worse because it festers, and then a small problem becomes a monumental problem, and you do have to do your job if it finds out it was your fault. So I tell people all the time, start training your body and mind now. Accountability, ownership, structure. Make a mistake, own it, fix it, move on.
Now, Vernon, you were a defensive back safety in the NFL. I had a chance to run a few routes, which was eye-opening, to go against somebody. And you're 10 years out of the league, so you're not even in the same shape you were in then. And just the strength that you guys had and how hard that was pretty entertaining to do. But you just chose to become a coach after your career. So clearly, being able to teach that, obviously I was thankful that you taught me a lot of really cool stuff about running routes and it's much more difficult than I thought. But what was that like to be able to transfer those skills and then to start to teach young men? And tell me about your coaching career in high school.
I think the first thing you realize as a coach is how much you don't know about football. So, as a player, you kind of go out there and you do your job and it becomes second nature to you. But there's so much that goes into, the planning aspect and game planning and building a system as a coach. And I gained a high level of respect for coaches. But I felt an obligation as a player who had been around the game at that time for roughly about 18 years and got a chance to play almost a decade in the NFL. You want to be able to perpetuate and share that information with younger minds, certainly those who are growing up in the game. And like you said, you want to share those transferable skills that you learn on the football field that you can apply to life, business, and even being a faithful father and husband. Those things are things that you learn about being a teammate in a locker room in the NFL.
Now, you coached at Faith Lutheran right here in Las Vegas. You had a chance to help them win their first state championship in 34 years. What was more exciting, playing in the NFL and getting that experience, or taking these young men to that state championship experience?
You know what? Ironic enough, being the coach and winning that championship, I think that was probably one of the greatest achievements that I've ever experienced in football, and just the joy that came with seeing the transfer of, first and foremost, the mindset of young men that maybe didn't believe in themselves or believe that they could accomplish what they had accomplished, and then just actually holding up that trophy and saying, man, a process that we put in place, these procedures, laying out a vision, and then seeing the fruition of that come to pass was just unbelievable.
It's interesting how in life, as you get older, you go from the joy of doing to actually being able to help other people do it. Like as a dad, I get much more joy now seeing my kids succeed than what I experienced in life as well. So I totally understand that. I want to shift for a minute to what we call the secret sauce, and that is give us just a quick insight into some of the things that you do that have helped you be successful, whether it be in football or now in life. Just a couple of nuggets that somebody could take with them. I'll start with you, Vernon.
I think when you look at football, and particularly being a defensive back, one of the skill sets that you have to have is being versatile. And you got to have the ability to be flexible and to shift and to change and to adjust on the fly. And I've been able to apply that in life, in business, and to teach those same lessons and those transferable skills to those that I have the opportunity to work with. When you talk about business and being in industries, it's constantly shifting and changing. And if you don't have the ability to adjust with that, then you're going to kind of get left behind. And then I think also doing some self-scouting, kind of similar to what Marques talked about. As a coach, one of the things that we did in our game planning was that we scouted our opponents. And you can figure out what their weaknesses are. You can try to capitalize and, expose those weaknesses. And then you can be, protective of those things that that they do well. But at the same time, one of the most important things that we did was self-scouting. So we'd look at ourselves and see what's working, what's not working, What can we adjust? What can we shift? Where can we get better? How can we progress? And all of those things are, I'd say is kind of the secret sauce. If you can be versatile and if you can learn how to look within and figure out how you can constantly be getting better, it'll put you in a position where you can be highly successful.
Yeah, I think being self-aware is so critical. A lot of people overlook that, but especially like being versatile. A year like 2020, you had to pivot, you had to change. Marques, you actually talked about that on LinkedIn a couple of times. As a keynote speaker, you were used to going to public events on a regular basis and being in front of people, and then 2020 completely changed that. So I know that you would agree with that, but what are some of the things that you would say are secret sauce for you?
So we wrote our second book, The Success Cycle, and it talks about three major facets, or three major pillars, I call them. One is ambition. What is the goals? What is the aspirations? What is your blueprint for your own life? If you go through life with no purpose, no ambition, it's like you're leading a very hopeless existence because you're not going anywhere. You're not going towards anything. So you're leading a life where people can look at you and say, what is your plan? What are you trying to accomplish? You say, well, I don't know. So you have to define your ambition. Second one is drive. You have to figure out what is your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is your main focal point? What is the intangible assets you possess other people don't see and know about you unless you tell them? And then be inspired over motivated. Inspiration is all about the long-lasting effect of you breathing life into other people for their greatness, like you talked about with coaching, everything else. And then there's motivation, which is driven by external forces, money, fame, notoriety, and that will burn out. So I had my construction company. After 5.5 years, well, almost 6 years, I was always motivated. And eventually, 6 years in, I burnt out. Started my keynote speaking business, been doing this now for 7.5 years. First 2.5 years, not one paid job. Here I am today, still going. So I was always inspired to be a keynote speaker, not motivated. So that's the drive aspect. And the third is just hard work. Focus on yourself, not the competition. Do you need to know what your competition is doing to a degree? Absolutely you do. But if you focus all the time on what they're doing and how they're having success or their social media page and what they're posting, you're not focusing on yourself. And you literally will drive yourself insane. Always what I do call social media comparison. They have this, they have that. They're driving this, I'm driving this. They're going to this vacation spot, I can't go anywhere. Well, you really don't know what someone's life is like. It could be posting a bunch of stuff that's not true. So again, the three factors I've used in pillars are ambition, drive, and hard work. And you hit the repeat button. So that is our book, The Success Cycle, but those are the secret sauces of our business that helped us get to where we are today.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate you guys sharing that. I know it's going to be awesome for our listeners. I want to transition real quick to the segment we call Rapid Fire, the Quick 10. I'm going to ask you guys 10 questions. You haven't seen them yet. I'll go back and forth and just give the kind of the first. These are just goofy questions. So first one is this. What is your favorite sporting event to attend outside of football?
Basketball.
Basketball?
Basketball.
Basketball is NBA or college? Which one?
NBA.
College.
College. Yeah, I like that. I like the college game because those kids are really fighting hard. They're trying to get to the next level. NBA, they're already there. They're kind of showing off, which is fun, but they're playing with free money at that point, it seems like. All right, In-N-Out or Whataburger or something else? You first.
Ooh. Ugh, you caught me. Chick-fil-A.
There you go. I like that. That's a great answer.
I would say Popeyes.
Popeyes. Okay, very good. Now, Marques, to you, who is one person that you really would like to meet?
Who I would really like to meet? Wow, that's an excellent question. I would have to probably say Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. Okay. Well, he's got some time now. He's not. Not as busy as he was.
Yeah, true that.
How about you?
I would say Denzel Washington. I don't know, man. He's always been my favorite actor.
He's great on Twitter. He always has just like really good little nuggets of insights he tells a story in 140 characters or 280 now, I guess, whatever it is. And so he's really good at that. So I'm with you on that. That'd be a good one. Okay, Vernon, what do you collect? Are you a collector? Is there anything that you?
Ooh. Watches.
Any particular brand?
Nope.
Just
it can be a $3 watch. It could be a $300 watch.
Just like watches.
I like watches.
That's cool. How about you, Marques?
Collector. I'm not really a collector. I don't really collect. I used to collect a lot of movies. I used to have a bunch of movies on DVD, stuff like that.
Right.
Now we kind of went to this whole new world. No, I'm not really much of a collector anymore.
Yeah. So really, there's nothing that. Hold on. Maybe you will one day. Maybe you'll.
Maybe.
Okay. What's one item on your bucket list?
One item on my bucket list: to go to Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia. You're the second person on the show to actually say that. I had somebody else mention the same thing. How about you?
I want to go to Israel.
You want to go to Israel?
Yeah.
Do kind of a tour there, biblical
Absolutely.
tour, Jerusalem, Sea of Galilee, all that kind of
100%.
stuff. I had an uncle that went and did that recently, said it was phenomenal. So I hope you get to do that.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. All right, Vernon, what's your favorite form of vacation?
Just relaxing without the kids. My
Anywhere,
wife and I.
at home? Do you want to go anywhere?
Yeah, we can do it at home. Yeah, we've done a bunch of staycations here in town, but no kids.
That's good. How about you?
Yeah, same thing. My wife loves New York City, and I didn't used to like it, but it's getting more grown on me. So I would say go to New York City with the wife, love my kids, but leave the kids at home.
Anything in New York particular, like musicals or history?
So she loves like the whole Times Square, the Broadway, the nice restaurants, all that type of stuff. So that'd be nice. We'll probably need to do something like that in the spring, I would imagine, around her birthday, get her either I'll send her by herself, love to go with her, but if we can't find a babysitter, I'll send her by herself for a weekend.
I hope you guys get to go together.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, you get one more meal. What is it?
My last meal?
One more meal.
I would have to go with steak, lobster, and give me a seafood buffet. I'm gonna have my last meal. I might as well eat the hell I want. So I want like lobster and scallops and shrimp. So give me a seafood buffet.
Okay, Vernon, how about you?
It'll sound like I'm just piggybacking off of them, but 100% seafood. So whatever that is, any type of fish, any type of shellfish, that's what I want.
I think I might join you guys. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. That's for sure. Okay, all right. 70s rock, 80s pop, or 90s rap? What do you prefer?
Oh, man. 90s rap.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's the right answer.
90s rap.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man, that wasn't hard for me.
Okay, this one's not in here, but Tupac or Biggie?
Pac.
Tupac.
Pop.
Yeah, we're like cut from the same cloth. I love it. I'm the same way. I like them both, but I feel like Tupac's lyrics
Yeah,
are
a little
just
bit
so
more, a lot more he's done.
Yeah.
A lot longer longevity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, which college sports team do you follow?
I would say I probably follow NC State because I'm in Carolina. I've had several clients that have gone to state, and their basketball team has actually gotten a lot better. Their football team has always been good. They've had, I think it was 2 years ago, they had 7 guys drafted to the NFL, 7 or 9 guys, the most of any college team, more than Alabama, more than Clemson. So state for me, because I'm in that Raleigh area. I have several kids that are on the team now, football, and their head basketball coach lives not that far away from me in a little town called Apex. So I have to say NC State.
Yeah, and they had Russell Wilson several years back before he went to Wisconsin.
Way
He
before I
started
got there, but yeah. But it's a good program.
And Jim Valvano, of course, with the.
Oh, yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Matter of fact, the Jimmy V Foundation is in Cary. That's where their headquarters is for the Globe.
That's great. That's cool.
So it's awesome.
Vernon, how about you?
So as a coach, I have a few kids kind of scattered throughout the country. So I pretty much just try to follow all of them, and they're everywhere from San Diego State to UNLV to even Fresno State.
So you're more into following the players than the teams.
Yeah. I'm a Bulldog at heart forever, but I try to follow all of them.
That's awesome. Okay, last question. What's your favorite car?
My favorite car is, I've always been a Mercedes guy, and I don't know that there's a particular model. I love the CL, but it's a 2-door. I don't like 2-door cars too much.
Yeah. How about you?
I gotta go with Maybach. I like the big boy. I like the big, the big back and the big high end front. So I gotta go with Maybach.
Yeah, those are both great choices. So let's transition real quick to the last segment called The Next Chapter. Now, you two are starting to collaborate together and work together. You both are speakers and consultants and coaches and those types of things. And now you're coming together on a venture called the 4 Quarters of Business. Marques, tell us a little bit about what that is and what inspired you guys to start working together.
4 Quarters of Business is where Vernon and I are looking to come together and do some work around different structures, culture, leadership, professional development, structure, time management. When you have people with his background, my background coming together, we're trying to play each other's strengths, right? Everybody has strong points. Everybody has weak points. The best leaders are able to do what they do best and then delegate the rest. So what we're trying to really do is focus on things, again, that really help a company go vertical, right? You need to build your foundation. Once you have a foundation, you want to take it vertical. But without culture, without leadership, without structure, without time management, without inclusion, how to transition, how to pivot, you're going to get stuck. So what we figured was, okay, Vernon has some great things he does really, really well. On the professional development side, the leadership side, from his coaching in football at a high level. Me, I have a lot of things on transition, things on pivot. So we're coming together to help organizations through 4 quarters, right? Like I said, you have to have a strategy. If you don't have a strategy, you're going to be in trouble. But if you don't execute that strategy and tactically do step A to B, B to C, I don't care how good your strategy is, you won't succeed. So what we're trying to do is really play off each other's strengths and come together for people who have issues in some of these different areas and help solve their problems, right? It's about bringing solutions to problems, not bringing, I need help. What do I do to problems? So we're trying to really help bring that in with the four cores of business to help companies thrive no matter what economic times they're facing.
And you guys are also still going to do some individual work as well. Vernon, what do you focus on individually? What are you going to be doing in the next 5 to 10 years individually to really help companies, help people grow?
A lot of what I do is in culture transition and development. One of the things that I've been able to do over the time and really coaching opened up a new avenue for me, just having the chance to go in and work with corporations and teams and organizations through their culture development process, whether that's leadership, transition, all of those things that Marques has already kind of mentioned. And again, you take those transferable skills that you learned on the football field, not only as a player, but also me having the opportunity to be a coach, and you take that into any boardroom, you take that into any executive meeting, and you're able to show those individuals how they can lead effectively by including their team in the process. So you're building up the culture and the development of their organization as a whole. And again, you're looking for the pain points. You want to figure out what's working, what's not working, and that's the four quarters. That's what you're trying to figure out. What do we do in the course of the start of a game and the finish of a game to start fast and finish strong, and figure out how we can adjust along the way to get to where it is that we're going. And so that's a big process of what I do.
Well, that's awesome. So what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you guys, learn more about you, and learn more about Four Quarters of Business?
Well, I know for myself, you can find me on all of the major social media platforms. At Vernon Fox 3 is usually my handle. Beyond that, I am currently in the process of establishing Culture Coach, which is a business you'll be able to find. We'll be online, and also obviously you can email me at info@vernonfox.com, and those are all ways that you can connect with me, and I can patch you in with what Marques and I are doing, and it's a good way for us to really get this thing rolling.
So Vernon Fox, the number three is your handle. Excellent. Marques, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm on all social media. It's at Marques Ogden, or my name, Marques Ogden, on LinkedIn, Facebook. Twitter's at Marques_Ogden. You can go to our website, which is www.marquesogden.com. And again, like Vernon said, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email me at marques@marquesogden.com. We can patch in what Vernon's doing, what we're all about. And again, we're just really about trying to help people that want to just excel. Wherever you are, if you're at this level, you want to go here, you want to go there. I don't care who you are, where you are, we should all want to be better. If you don't want to be better, then you're going to end up what I call going the other way, regressing. So learning how to work on these aspects and get coached in them or consulted in them is going to help you get better. So reach out to me or Vernon, and we can have a conversation.
That's awesome, guys. Thanks so much for being on the episode. It was great to spend time with you, get roughed around a little bit out there on the football field, and see what your skill sets are and just what made you successful. We appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate it, man.
Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Bathrooms and Bunkers. Be sure to follow us online, and remember, excellence is in you, so let it out.